Ladies, I am so sick and tired of this mindset. And if you have this mindset, I am so sorry that someone ingrained it inside you. However, please, for the love of God, stop saying that weights are going to make you bulky, that you're going to one day look up. You don't wake up bulky, whatever bulky looks like to you. You don't wake up looking like that overnight. You can control how your physique looks over time. Take me, for example, I've been lifting for 7 years now. I can also pull off a dress and still look feminine. However, in the gym, I do look like this. I love the fucking way I look. And I'm confident on this side of the spectrum and this side of the spectrum. If you think me in the gym looks too bulky for you, that's fine. It took me 7 years to get there. It will probably take you years to get there as well. We literally do not have enough testosterone that we can produce as women to look manly. That's it. PSA. And I came to my dad and I was like, Dad, like, help me. Like, I want to get stronger. So swimming helped me like lose all this weight. I was doing some research on the internet and I found a healthy ice cream that number one tastes good and number two is a third of the calories and all the ingredients in it are good for you and natural. So I was going to wait till tomorrow to do this video reply in a much more formal setting. However, after I thought about it and going back and forth in the comment section with Mr. Troy Addison here, and I asked for cited sources, the only reply I got was, well, I'm just going to make a video tomorrow. And then I saw that this book was referenced for this misleading skit. And then I was like, you know what? I'm not going to wait for a video reply to be made where you just cite this outdated book that was published in 2004, nearly 2 decades ago, when time and time again in research, we have revisited the concept of nutrition timing, and for sources to be possibly cherry-picked to fit your confirmation bias that, mind you, had several limitations and again was disproven and revisited later on. And I went to school for this, but let's say I didn't. It took me 5 minutes to find up-to-date research. 5 minutes. And out of the several cited sources I have, this one summarized it very well. So, I mean, the skit was just quite frankly misleading and lazy. Stomach vacuums actually don't assist in a smaller waist, and here's why. Unfortunately, this is another one of those bullshit trends that's flying around on the internet right now, and it's really sad to see this coming from someone who is a trainer. Stomach vacuums were created to have more self-awareness of your TVA muscle contracting. So practicing mind to muscle connection. The TVA is actually a muscle that sits deep in your waist that acts as your own corset to surround your organs, stabilize your pelvic floor, and stabilize your spine as well. And it actually quite literally contracts involuntarily while you're doing simple movements throughout the day, such as walking up the stairs, reaching over to pick something up off the counter, urinating, or even if you pick your posture up, your TVA is contracting. So what are stomach vacuums actually good for? Nothing more than practicing that mind to muscle connection. So stomach vacuums are not going to cinch your waist, make your waist smaller, give you a flat stomach, etc.
You can take my degree and shove it up your ass.
Well, you see, there would be nothing to shove up anyone's asses because at this point, your credentials just do not exist. My ass is also a little too fat for that anyway. So thanks for the tag. I appreciate it. All these creators, in fact, including myself, have called out this registered dietitian who miraculously misconstrues the concept of calorie deficit, but also ironically pushes intuitive eating. And newsflash, you can intuitive eat and still be in a deficit without knowing it. Wow, what a concept. I mean, at this point, we're just choosing ignorance, aren't we? Because like, it's a very simple math that I could explain to a third grader and they would understand it. So on that note, I will leave with this. You can't explain logic to the illogical.
Wow. Well, this is going to be my personality for the rest of my life.
I don't know who needs to fucking hear this, but animal studies do not directly translate to human studies. Animal studies do not directly translate to human studies. Animal studies do not directly translate to human fucking studies. That's it. Learn how to read research.
Damn.
$25, $30, whatever. And I remember coming to my dad one day because I ended up joining the swim team to like lose all this weight. I was like, I need to be in a sport. Like I got to do something because I can't do it on my own. So I remember joining the swim team, and this was like freshman year in high school. Hello, Miss Charlie. Let's go ahead and have an open discussion. OC's video was towards all women, so I responded with all women. If OC's video was towards older women, I would have responded as such. Yes, I'm 24, and by the time I'm in my 30s, I will be running far more businesses than I am now. And yes, I do agree with your point that once you get older, you must keep your hormones more so in check. A lot of things change, especially through menopause. And I understand you called me ageist, but what's really ageist is diminishing the capabilities of older women and believing that they can't do things that they could have done when they were younger. And just because you had a more negative experience does not mean that equates to other older women's experiences. This is a logical fallacy known as a hasty generalization. I'm going to take my Aunt Rita as an example, who up until her 70s was a professor teaching business and English, wrote multiple textbooks, and is a phenomenal entrepreneur. Hormones play a large role, but it's not impossible.
I don't want to be somebody's dream girl anymore. I want to be their absolutely worst nightmare!
You know, that the other shows got canceled or pushed back. So I will be doing a show in October now, but I am technically still on prep. So I am now officially like not 11 and a half weeks out anymore. I'm like, if I ever have to intimidate people, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stand this close to their face and not do anything. My height's going to scare them. How big I am is going to scare them. Unless they're bigger than me, of course.
Right.
But yeah, I squared up to him. And then he kind of backed in and he was like, oh shit.
Welcome to day 4 of the 12 Roasts of Fitness. I'm Olivia.
And I'm Beefcake Brina, and today we're roasting people who make fasting their entire personality.
Much like an iOS update, this topic to me is so tedious that every time I think about calling them out, I'm more likely to click remind me later.
Breaking news!
Middle-aged white woman discovers fasting causes her to lose weight. She has since decided to give a spiffy title and monetize on something that she thinks she discovered.
Raise your hand if you're surprised. Now, if it works so well, you wouldn't continuously come back to it like your toxic ex. Even if it checks the boxes in the short term, chances are it's not sustainable in the long term. Comment after comment after comment bashing Renee for her RDL form. What's up? I'm Beefcake Brina. I'm your favorite no bullshit coach. I have a BS in kinesiology, specifically in fitness and sports. Let's talk about what makes proper RDL form. First things first, there's no such thing as perfect form. There's only ideal and proper form for your own anatomy and biomechanics. With that being said, Renee has crazy flexibility and hip mobility. Let's debunk some comments. If you go too low, the back will take all of the load. So some spinal flexion is inevitable and not inherently bad for you. That's a very 2010 trainer mindset, and this has been debunked by current research. Next, is she better off doing a stiff-legged deadlift? Well, that's actually up to her, but the difference between these two is that one touches the ground and the other does not. And to the comments that say this is past her active range of motion, again, everyone's active range of motion looks differently. There's minimal lumbar flexion here. It's not inherently bad for her. And if you're not actually an expert, don't give advice on someone else's form. That's it. Okay, so if you have a second, go watch my live. As of right now, I'm still going to be on prep. I'm still going to be coached by my coach. We're just going to go into like a mini bulk. She's going to change up my diet and I get a cheat meal tonight.
But yeah, he was a pilot in the Navy, so he worked out pretty regularly. He was like
good self-discipline and regiment.
definitely. So he helped me out. And then, you know, I started getting more fit and more fit.
These are V's real measurements. Look at that. She gained a pound, but she looks leaner. Bigger chest, but a smaller waist, are creating more of that hourglass shape. Thighs stay roughly the same. Biceps went up just a little bit. Even the forearms and the wrists went down in measurement. That's some great fucking progress, especially for someone who's been lifting for a few years already and is trying to mix two opposite mechanisms and put them together. I created a program for her that was sustainable, that fit her schedule and fit her needs. We implemented a lot more progressive overload, and then we changed her eating, upped her protein just a little bit, and we actually increased her calories. Mix that together with consistency and fucking boom, you get results. Proof is in the pudding. This shit don't lie. I'm Beefcake Brina here in my creds.
Individuals who worked out more than 23 times per month or more than 90 minutes per session had worse mental health outcomes.
Now, Elaine did a very good job at explaining this cross-sectional study. These studies specifically do not determine a cause and effect. Like Elaine explained, there is a sweet spot for exercise, meaning that too much can be a bad thing and too little can also be a bad thing. According to that observational study, I technically fall higher than the observed sweet spot. However, that does not mean that I have issues. That's not what Elaine was saying in her video either. A lot of y'all in the comments just seem to have missed the fucking point. Cross-sectional studies are meant to give us a good idea to conduct further research later. It is not a cause and effect, but allow this to be a reminder that you should be aware of how your mental health state is within your regimen. Here's some signs and symptoms that I encourage both my clients and you to look out for. That way you can best adhere to your own workout regimen and not sacrifice your mental health in the process. Remember, you could be taking care of yourself physically, but if you're not taking care of yourself mentally, you're not healthy.
Doing fasted cardio, A, helps you burn your stored fat, and B, allows for 2 solid training sessions to be done every single day.
Let's debunk some bullshit real quick. The trend of fasted cardio amongst bodybuilders was popularized by Bill Phillips in his Body for Life book written in 1999. In theory, fasted cardio sounds superior, but a lot of the claims are bro science. The number one misconception about fasted cardio is that it is superior to fat loss. According to our most recent literature, just because aerobic exercise performed in a fasted state induces higher fat oxidation than exercise performed in a fed state, this does not translate to more fat loss, because your body composition and your fat loss is influenced by your overall daily intake, not your hour-to-hour basis and whether you did cardio fasted or fed. And this is something a lot of bodybuilders and coaches fail to understand. So no, fasted cardio is not superior for fat loss like you may think it is. In fact, it may, emphasis on may, potentially be detrimental to those who are concerned with muscular strength and hypertrophy. And a benefit to doing cardio fed is that you may have a prolonged bout of exercise as you are able to adhere to it more. Bodybuilders like myself will still use fasted cardio as a strategy during prep because A, it's personal preference, but also B, we just want to save our calories until pre-lift. But that's about it. Otherwise, it's really not superior at all. Although they do kind of teach you the basics, they don't really teach you how to do this, which is heavily involved in coaching. Here are things that matter way more than some personal training certification. Hands-on experience with all types of individuals and client results. Continued education, because our scientific literature is consistently updating. And as a coach, it's your job to keep up to date with it. Is your coach's information outdated, saying knees over toes bad, creatine is bad, not understanding how to properly program for your goals and your individual needs? Leading me to my next point, we don't need fucking cookie cutter bullshit programs anymore. We're way past this. Lastly, extra credentials. This shouldn't be a deciding factor on whether you should hire the coach or not. However, it's a big bonus if they have a degree that relates to nutrition, sports, and fitness. Now I get it, not everyone can acquire a degree, so what do I recommend instead? NSCA and ACSM. It's a much more vigorous curriculum that does not fail to stay up to date with our current scientific literature. They hold the entry level to fitness to a higher standard, and they do a great job at presenting their information so you can actually leave the certification feeling accomplished. Absolutely no hate to Lean Beef Patty. She's a great person, but this does not pertain to you, diet or workout wise. Much of the comment section was just littered with a bunch of comments saying, okay, I'm doing this routine now to look like her, when in reality, you're not gonna fucking look like anyone but yourself. Y'all need to stop looking at fitness influencers, including myself, as your ideal body goals. There are so many individual factors you have to take into account when building out your routine. I would never want to look like Lean Beef Patty. I know that I'm my own person. I'm also 5'11". She's 5'3", so of course I'm not going to look like her, even if I do the same exact routine as her. On a side note, this doesn't pertain to Lean Beef Patty, but there are a lot of coaches and influencers selling guides implying that you're going to look like them if you follow their guide. And that's bullshit and misleading. I've also had clients whose main goal in hiring me is to look like me, and I'm really quick to let them know that that's not how it works and that's not realistic. Because right now we're going to debunk the 3 biggest myths that I fucking hear about creatine as a professional. Number 1 being that creatine is some fucking magical supplement that's going to automatically cause you to gain muscle, lose fat, increase strength, you name it. Although these may be longer term indirect results, you can't just expect creatine to work on its own. The extra small results that you do heed from the supplement, you have to put it to work. Number 2 is that creatine causes hair loss. This is simply not true, and the people who do defend this myth always cites this small randomized control trial from 2009, where a small group of men took creatine for a short period of time, and it was found that their serum DHT levels, not local DHT levels, increased. When people typically butcher the analyzation of this study, they don't know the difference between serum DHT and localized DHT, and local DHT is what is linked to hair loss, or at least high levels of it. Correlation does not equal causation. So if you're worried about DHT, well, guess what? Exercise increases DHT as well. This would only be an issue to be concerned about if you are male and are predisposed to male pattern baldness within your genetics. Even then, the creatine would raise those DHT levels to a very minuscule degree. I haven't had a cheat meal in so long, or what feels like so long. And then I'll just be doing a show in October. I'm not going to do the Phil Heath because the Phil Heath is going to be extremely crowded with competitors. Now, and I'm really not sure where I assumed, because we have empirical evidence. And although anecdotes are important, and so is people's personal experiences, we have to understand that this does not overtake empirical evidence. I'm not here to change your mind, that's fine, but I think before having discourse with someone and debating with someone, it's really important to know the difference between a claim and an opinion. One is objective, the other is subjective, and then have a little bit more of a backing than, well, it just worked for me. And then not play the what about me card. This is called whataboutism, and that's a different talk for a different day. So yeah, feel free to read this.
Y'all are going on and on about girl math, boy math. All I care about is gym girl math.
And as a part of the gym girl community, I'd like to add on to this gym girl math. Girl dinner, but make it a protein shake. Time exists everywhere else, but for the gym, it doesn't. Take as long as you want. A 45 and a 25 plate is 1.5. I don't know why, it's just 1.5. Clothing, too expensive, but we'll drop hundreds on gym clothing. Absolutely no problem whatsoever. A standard bottle of water is 24 ounces, not 16 ounces. Don't ask me why. A cardio minute and a lifting minute aren't the same. They are not the same. They're not the same. Don't talk to me twice. Throw around a 30-pound dumbbell in the gym, no problem. 30-pound objects outside the gym, heaviest fucking thing in the world. That's gym girl math. Just because you can does not mean you should. I really shouldn't have to explain this, but the quad extension machine is for your quad, not for hip thrusts. And the backrest here is way too high to even get an effective movement out of it. I understand influencers are trying to get really creative with their exercises, but as a professional, I really don't recommend this. If you don't have a glute drive or a hip thrust machine, then use a Smith machine hip thrust instead. If you don't have a Smith machine, do a barbell hip thrust. If you don't have that, use a kettlebell, use a dumbbell, band it. Please just don't do this hack. It's not safe, it's not effective.